Millionaire spends $5,000 on Housekeeper for Gala. What happened next will leave you inspired. Jordan Bennett stood at the marble staircase of his sprawling estate, hands clenched around a glass of scotch. Tonight's extravagant gala felt like a grandiose display of his success, yet regret simmered beneath the surface. He hired Maria, a single mother from a struggling neighborhood, at an eye-watering price to ensure the evening ran flawlessly. A whirlwind of emotion consumed him. Was he exploiting her situation to polish his own image among the affluent elite, or was he genuinely trying to help? The opulent chandeliers glinted, illuminating the future that had once seemed so bright. Each arrival of Silicon Valley's crème de la crème amplified the anxiety gnawing at his gut. He had fought hard for the fortune he had, driven by the values of hard work and family loyalty instilled in him from modest beginnings. Yet, while glancing at Maria, her tired eyes and resilient spirit, he felt the weight of expectation bearing down. It was supposed to be a celebration, but there was a sharp dissonance between the glimmering scene around him and the struggles Maria faced day to day. His thoughts raced, colliding like restless waves. Each laugh and clink of glasses reminded him how far he had come, but also how easily a person could forget the struggles outside their bubble. He thought of Maria's two young children, in a neighborhood where opportunities felt like ghosts. They relied on her. Just as he had relied on every ounce of determination, he had to climb the social ladder. Which of them truly deserved accolades? Uncertainty tightened his chest, making it difficult to breathe. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the evening progressed, tension seeped across the room like smoke. And just when he thought he could ignore the rising mass of conflict brewing inside him, Maria stood. Driven by a rush of courage and undercurrents of pride, she faced the elite crowd, sharing her story of resilience, a poignant tale of motherhood intertwined with the prejudice she navigated as a single parent. Gasps rippled through the air like a shockwave. Conversations halted, and eyes locked onto her. She poured out her heart in a room where offhand comments about the less fortunate often flowed as freely as champagne. Shocking them into discomfort, she illuminated the unseen struggles that lurked outside the opulent walls of this gala. Jordan's pulse quickened. This wasn't part of the agenda. He felt the backlash simmering among his high society friends, murmurs about Maria overstepping her bounds rising like a torrent demanding to be tamed. He stood on uneven ground, caught between protecting Maria and his comfortable facade crumbling around him. Each frown and raised eyebrow echoed a silent threat to his status. Could he afford to stand by her side when all it would take was one misguided glance to put his hard-earned reputation on the line? As he glanced at Maria, her vulnerability made it clear. She wasn't here seeking recognition. She wanted understanding. The juxtaposition between their lives seared into his heart, sparking a desire for change that started to overshadow the gala's ostentation. But the inner turmoil overwhelmed him. He faced an existential crisis brought on by a sudden illumination of social disparity that made him question his very foundations of success. How could he reconcile this revelation with the glittering privilege surrounding him? The walls around him pulsed with energy, as whispers morphed into accusations. Jordan stood at the precipice, muscles tense, mind racing, heart torn between worlds. He had lived one of privilege and one shrouded in hardship. Maria's courageous stand resonated with an undeniable truth that he could no longer ignore, leaving him wrestling with the weight of responsibility that could reshape everything he believed in. Jordan's heart raced as he confronted the palpable tension in the room. The applause for Maria's story rang hollow in his ears, reverberating against the ornate walls that had witnessed countless hollow celebrations. He felt the eyes of his peers burning into him through their affluent facades. He could sense the judgment. For the first time he recognized their gleam of wealth wasn't just a badge of honor. It was a chain binding them to ignorance. He shifted on his feet, an instinctive response to the suffocating expectations bearing down. Would he retreat to the safety of polite distance, enabling the status quo? Or would he step forward, embracing the chance to transform his enlightenment into action? The scotch in his hand felt suddenly foreign, a facade of sophistication that no longer comforted him. He wanted clarity amidst the tumult, yet all he could envision was Maria's unwavering presence. Her raw honesty unveiled a truth he could no longer ignore. Jordan's instinct to uphold the stature he had built began to clash violently with the growing awareness of his privilege. The night had become a mirror, reflecting back his past decisions, the missed opportunities to make a real difference in someone else's life, and the moments he had chosen personal elevation over genuine connection. What should have been a proud celebration filled with laughter had morphed into an introspective crucible. Maria's voice echoed in his mind, a siren call urging him to take a stand. Was he willing to pay the price of his reputation for the chance to support a single mother fighting against the tide? The question gnawed at him, demanding urgent resolution. He had spent years cultivating an image synonymous with success, but true merit wasn't that rooted in human connection and authentic contribution? As he debated within himself, the knot in his stomach unraveled. Jordan stepped forward, drawing an unsure breath, while the crowd's chatter eased into an anticipatory lull. Every gaze turned toward him, as if he had suddenly become the focal point of Maria's message. He could feel the uncertainty coiling around him, but amidst it all, a flicker of newfound resolve ignited. "I've been listening tonight," he began, his voice steady, yet soft, careful to navigate through the treacherous waters between privilege and empathy. "I've been reminded of disparities that are too often brushed aside by this society." Breaches of silence interrupted his thoughts, curiosity mingling with skepticism. Could he really challenge the very foundation he had built his life upon? "I was once like many of you," he continued, emboldened. "I worked hard, I succeeded, and I should be proud. But success is not solely about wealth. It's also about the lives we touch along the way." The murmurs intensified, a wave of bewilderment washing over him. He locked eyes with Maria, drawing strength from her unwavering spirit, which seemed to speak volumes without uttering another word. Jordan felt the skepticism start to dissipate, replaced by something unpredictable, perhaps understanding. "Maria, thank you for sharing your story. I don't know if my past choices can be repaired, but perhaps it's time to rethink what success actually means to me." A new wave of noise swept through the crowd, some nodding, others visibly agitated. The question loomed: would his willingness to confront his privilege be welcomed or vilified? Could this moment of vulnerability reshape not just his character, but also the perceptions of everyone surrounding him? He stood teetering on the cusp of transformation, where he felt compelled to break free from the bonds of reputation and explore the powerful potential of empathy. In that flickering hour, Jordan felt something unfurl within him, an eagerness to evolve, to confront the very fabric of his existence. But new challenges awaited, as he recognized that true change would demand more than just words. It would require action and sacrifice. As the night pressed on and tension spiraled, he realized he stood at a crossroads, with poignant decisions echoing. What he had witnessed that evening. Would he have the courage to engage with the issues Maria's story illuminated? The paths before him were murky, yet one called to him with an urgent clarity. The journey ahead would not amble along a well-lit avenue. It would plunge into the depths of authenticity. The moment of truth had arrived, but the choices ahead flooded his senses with an exhilarating mix of fear and determination. What awaited him on the other side of that pivotal choice? Would he forge the courage to not only defend Maria but also start on a new course of action that could redefine everything he stood for? The weight of those decisions began to settle around him, and with them a stark truth. The path to redemption would not only demand resolve but might also shatter the ideals he had once sworn to uphold. The following days unfolded like an intricate tapestry woven from threads of uncertainty and burgeoning resolve. Jordan's mind remained preoccupied by the scene that had transpired, the shocked expression seared into his memory. He found himself playing the moment on a loop, dissecting every glance and sharp intake of breath from his peers. Could they see the shift in him? A deep-rooted need to act burgeoned within him, pushing aside lingering doubts. He had spent the better part of his life insulating himself from uncomfortable truths, draped in luxury and denial. Now, the weight of that insulation felt like a suffocating shroud. Each time he stepped into the office or a high society gathering, he felt a distinct strain, as if a tether connected him to that moment of revelation, not only pulling him forward but also weighing down his every step. Still, concrete action eluded him. With every passing hour, he deliberated over countless possibilities to bridge the gap between sentiment and action. What could he do? Writing a check felt too simple, too devoid of transparency. Taking a seat on a charity board? That felt insipid compared to the resonance Maria's words had ignited within him. Amidst this ocean of contemplation, he was struck by the notion that real change would require him to actively immerse himself in the world he had previously observed from a distance. What if he could lend his financial acumen to struggling individuals, helping them to access resources that would bring about tangible improvements in their lives? Each morning, he found himself drafting outlines of potential projects, scribbling ideas that challenged the conventional philanthropy he'd once been so comfortable with. His evenings were spent researching community initiatives, connecting with grassroots organizations, and learning about the multi-layered struggles of those who lived on the fringe. There was an adrenaline rush that came with each new discovery, mingling with the underlying fear of inadequacy that whispered insidiously in his ear. What did he know of their world? What made him entitled to act as an advocate for those whose experiences had been entirely different from his own? Jordan decided he needed first-hand experience, a reality check that would root his plans in authenticity and compassion. Taking a deep breath, he reached out to a local shelter and proposed a partnership. They could benefit from his financial planning skills. He could advocate for their programs and explore funding avenues. The shelter director's initial skepticism turned into cautious optimism. A meeting was scheduled for the following week, and it would be his first profound step beyond mere words. Days stretched uncomfortably until the meeting arrived, and as Jordan walked through the shelter's doors, he was engulfed by a swell of voices that filled the air with life echoes of laughter, interspersed with calls for assistance. It was a world vibrantly alive yet simultaneously marred by struggle. He faltered at the entrance, the weight of reality crashing down on him like a wave. This felt so different from the polished environments he was used to. The stark contrast was like a jolt of electricity through his system. As he made his way inside, absorbing conversations while observing the faces of those he'd once seen merely as statistics, a transformative experience began to crystallize within him. These individuals had stories, lives filled with challenges and resilience. The uncertainty started to fade, replaced with an awakening significance. He was not simply an outsider coming to save, but rather a collaborator seeking to understand. Each discussion brought clarity to his muddled thoughts, tethering him to newfound impulses. He began to see the myriad paths intertwined, his skills intersecting with their needs. What potential lay within this collaboration? Could his insights foster meaningful change? The thought thrilled him, pulling strings of courage he hadn't harnessed before. But just as he began to feel a light of determination emerge, a flicker of doubt pricked at his resolve again. Would he be truly welcome here? Could he manage to foster genuine relationships with people he had previously regarded only in abstract terms? More importantly, how would he navigate the pushback from within his own circle, where ignorance and privilege often overshadowed compassion? The answer lay still obscured, awaiting in the complexities that lay ahead. Jordan exhaled, grounding himself in the moment. The decision had been made to embrace this unraveling journey, yet its depths were still shrouded in mystery. With a renewed sense of purpose guiding him, he silently prepared himself for what was yet to come, knowing it would demand even more of him than he had initially prepared to offer. At that moment, the adventure was only beginning, and in stirring within the tempest of his changing identity, he felt a call to discover the real implications of his actions. The truth was lurking just beyond the horizon. Confronting his privilege was just the first wave in a sea of greater challenges waiting for him to break through the surface. Jordan's initial enthusiasm was tempered by uncertainty as he stepped into the shelter's main room, a cacophony of voices colliding with his own thoughts. As he exchanged pleasantries with the staff, he felt an overwhelming sense of dislocation. He had imagined this place to be a hub of hope, yet it bristled with raw, palpable tension. Determined not to retreat into his former shell of privilege, he forced himself to engage. His first interaction was with Tanya, a fixture at the shelter who had been helping clients navigate their benefits for over a decade. Her no-nonsense demeanor immediately struck him, though he sensed it was armor against a world of disappointments. "What brought you in today?" she asked, her expression a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. Jordan stammered, trying to articulate his intentions without further alienating her or the others in the shelter. "I'm hoping to help," he managed, "with resources and funding. I have experience in financial planning, and I think we could work together." Tanya's eyebrows arched, an expression that conveyed both interest and disbelief. "Really? You think we need your help? We've had plenty of people come in here with grand ideas, but when it comes down to it, they rarely stick around." Her words felt like an electric shock, forcing Jordan to confront the stark reality of his predicament. Was he merely another fleeting presence? He sensed that his previous comforts would do little to bridge the gulf between their lives. Jordan did not shirk away from her scrutiny. As he cleaned up the meeting room with the others, he listened intently to the struggles shared within the shelter, and realized that each story was a testament to tenacity. He began to understand that solutions weren't clean-cut. They unfolded in the messy intersection of support and understanding. This wasn't a project. This was a community with intricate needs he had yet to grasp fully. In the following weeks, he returned to the shelter regularly, determined to forge genuine connections. He volunteered in various capacities, be it serving meals or organizing workshops that offered basic financial literacy. Still, the question loomed in his mind. Was he capable of being more than a temporary fixture? Was he investing in this journey out of a genuine desire to effect change? Or was it just a way to alleviate his own discomfort? The answers began to surface as he formed relationships with individuals like Tanya. Even as she remained guarded, a shared respect emerged between them, and through that bond, she started revealing insights about the shelter's clients beyond statistics, stories of resilience, dreams deferred, and hopes reignited. Each narrative chipped away at his growing understanding of societal responsibilities. As he delved deeper into the finances of the shelter, he unveiled systemic structures that had held them captive. The shelter struggled with unpredictable funding, often initiating projects with little more than the hope that they would be sustained. In the late-night hours spent poring over spreadsheets, he began crafting proposals and strategizing funding avenues that could offer genuine support instead of band-aid solutions. But with new ambitions came mounting anxiety. Would he succeed in a world so marred by complexity? He began drafting an ambitious plan for a new outreach program that would connect clients with long-term financial counseling, a service no one had previously considered vital. Days stretched into tense weeks, and as Jordan presented his ideas to the board, the atmosphere crackled with uncertainty. As he laid out his vision, he felt the weight of the room watching. Would they allow a newcomer to redefine their operational landscape? Their skeptical expressions bore into him, and he had to suppress the urge to retreat. In the intensity of the moment, Jordan found a spark he hadn't known was within him. He defended his proposal vehemently, arguing that this community didn't just need aid. It needed empowerment through knowledge. As the meeting progressed, the tide slowly shifted, though hesitation lingered. The board voted, and the result hung in the air like an unanswered question. The future felt like a precipice beneath him. What lay ahead? Would he be able to navigate through the complexities of advocacy without the tools he had come to rely on? His heart raced as the chairperson looked up, ready to announce the decision. But before they could speak, the door swung open, and in walked a new face, a charismatic advocate whose reputation preceded them. The power dynamic shifted instantly. Jordan felt the ground shift beneath him. Had this newcomer come to disrupt his nascent endeavors? Or could they offer an unexpected partnership? The challenges loomed larger, and for the first time, he understood that personal development often came hand in hand with unpredictability. His journey was only just beginning, and the next twist was waiting just around the corner, ready to force him to rethink everything he had built so far. What would be this advocate's agenda? And how would their entrance shape Jordan's quest for redemption? Jordan's heartbeat drowned out the ambient sounds of the meeting room as he processed the sudden shift in energy. The newcomer, a tall figure with an effortlessly poised demeanor, strode in like a general surveying a battlefield. All eyes turned to this fresh presence, and Jordan felt himself shrinking, distinctly aware of the vulnerability he'd revealed just minutes earlier. "Ladies and gentlemen," the newcomer proclaimed, their voice steady and confident, "I'm Alex Monroe. I understand we're deliberating on some new initiatives today." The way Alex spoke commanded attention, igniting a flicker of insecurity in Jordan, who realized he'd been content to stay in the shadows until now. Amidst his growing discomfort, Jordan listened intently as Alex outlined a similar vision to his own. The notion of partnering clients with long-term financial counseling echoed through the room and resonated with just as much fervor as it had in Jordan's mind. Dread coursed through him as doubt didn't he merely threaten to creep in. It charged forward. Was he merely regurgitating ideas already hashed out by someone else? When Alex's gaze swept over him, a slight smile danced at the corners of their mouth. I believe that knowledge is a powerful asset, and access to financial literacy can truly change lives. Those words struck Jordan like a lightning bolt. Yet, juxtaposed with Alex's polished confidence, his own insecurities surged. Could he stand firm against someone flaunting their expertise? As the board began discussing Alex's proposal with enthusiastic murmurs, Jordan experienced a newfound urgency. He took a deep breath, trying to steel himself not only against Alex but against the imposter syndrome gnawing at him. He'd worked hard on his plan. It was time to put it forward. Excuse me, he interrupted, his voice gaining strength as he stood, every muscle tensed. I'd like to add to what Alex has suggested. As he spoke despite the anxiety threatening to overtake him, memories of the resilient stories he'd heard washed over him. I think we can expand on this by incorporating client feedback in our outreach materials. This community needs to feel valued in guiding how programs are structured. Jordan squared his shoulders, aware of the inattentive eyes now pivoting toward him, the pity and skepticism peeking through their gaze now exchanged for intrigue. Tanya's encouragement flashed in his memory, igniting a smoldering ember of determination within him. He pressed on, using this unexpected confrontation as fuel, illuminating the gap between theory and the very real ramifications of financial ignorance. When the board responded, his words hung in the air, a tenuous bridge between his vision and Alex's refined approach. For the first time, he noticed the flicker of acknowledgement in Alex's eyes. Rather than perceiving him as mere competition, there seemed to be a glimmer of appreciation, perhaps recognition of the value in collaboration. Yet, beneath the surface, a deeper layer of conflict unfurled as Jordan pondered his original ambitions. Was he intrinsically motivated to give, or was he still grasping for validation? The realization was unsettling. In striving to empower others and implement change, had he inadvertently been chasing the remnants of worthiness from his previous life? Before he could wrestle with these gnawing thoughts, Alex initiated a powerful dialogue, guiding the board toward a brainstorming session to combine their ideas. Each contribution they made filled the room with an invigorating energy, and for the first time, Jordan sensed the possibility of collaboration with Alex rather than rivalry. The meeting eventually adjourned with potential pathways laid out. His proposal would see the light, albeit interwoven with Alex's insights. But as he exited the room, elation mixed with uncertainty lingered. What would their future dynamic entail now that they shared a goal? As he approached the exit, Jordan felt an almost magnetic pull towards Alex, who was animatedly discussing strategies with another board member. Before he could overthink it, he stepped forward. Alex, can we chat? I think we have a lot to discuss. In that moment, Jordan recognized the precarious balance of growth and collaboration that lay ahead. Was he prepared to navigate this newfound partnership without losing himself? With uncertainty brewing, he had opened the door to a relationship that could redefine his journey. The moment hung in the air, thick with promise and tension, signaling a precipice of change. Would this unexpected alliance with Alex propel him toward his ambitions, or would it spiral into an intricate dance of self-discovery and self-doubt he was unprepared for? As Jordan approached Alex, nerves bristled beneath his skin. He hadn't simply initiated a conversation. He had opened a channel that could lead to profound shifts in his professional life. The moment felt pivotal. More than just an impromptu discussion, it represented a leap into a partnership that was both exhilarating and terrifying. Of course, Jordan, Alex said, their smile unfurling like a welcoming banner. The relaxed manner in which Alex gestured for Jordan to join them spoke volumes. They were unthreatened. What's on your mind? The very question caught him off guard. What was truly on his mind? Was it the potential for collaboration or his apprehensions about losing his own voice? Caught in a whirlwind of thoughts, he hesitated, scanning Alex's face for hints of how best to navigate this delicate terrain. I think we're onto something valuable, he began, the words tumbling out with more fluidity than he anticipated. Your approach is solid, and I'm excited about our shared vision for financial literacy. I imagine we can create something impactful together. Alex nodded thoughtfully. I'm glad to hear that. Our perspectives complement each other. But we need to ensure that both of our ideas are given space to grow, they replied. The confidence in their tone was infectious. Jordan felt the tension in his chest ease slightly. They weren't here to overshadow him. Perhaps they could build something worthwhile as equals. What do you think our next step should be? He asked, each word heavy with intention. Jordan recognized that he was no longer a mere spectator in this discussion. He was beginning to take ownership of his participation. Let us take the ideas we discussed in the meeting and brainstorm next week with the team. I would love to hear more about the feedback you've collected from clients, Alex replied, their enthusiasm seeping into the exchange. We shouldn't just move forward. We should build a foundation rooted in community involvement. Jordan's mind raced as his confidence surged. Their synergy felt like it could yield fresh, innovative solutions. Yet a nagging question emerged: was he simply riding on Alex's coattails? In their eagerness to combine their visions, he needed to ensure that his own voice wasn't dulled in the process, that this wouldn't just become Alex's project. I can take the lead on gathering more client insights and shaping the outreach strategy, he suggested, leaning into this burgeoning partnership. This way we can create materials that really resonate with them. A fantastic idea, Alex responded, a glimmer of admiration in their eyes. The warmth of that acknowledgement washed over him, igniting a sense of purpose and determination. He basked in it even as self-doubt whispered at the edges of his mind. Yes, he was bringing his unique strengths to the table. Yet, lurking beneath his excitement lay the fear of failure. What if this endeavor unraveled along the way? What if his contributions weren't validated, or his vision was overshadowed by Alex? Jordan had to confront these fears with practical strategies. He needed to carve out space to voice his ideas confidently. Do you think we should set up regular check-ins to ensure our voices are both heard throughout this process? He proposed, realizing that addressing this concern head-on could strengthen their partnership. That's a great call, Alex replied with genuine enthusiasm, nodding in agreement. We should be transparent with each other as we go forward. With the foundations of their alliance solidifying, Jordan sensed the weight of his aspirations shifting. No longer just a player in the background waiting for validation, he was choosing to be proactive, a pivotal moment in his journey toward self-assertion. This plan rekindled a sense of agency that he hadn't felt in years. Yet, as they wrapped up their conversation, one fundamental question remained. Could he really embrace this partnership without losing sight of himself? The stakes were climbing higher, and he was left grappling with a looming ambiguity about whether he had the strength to hold fast to his identity. As they parted ways, a surge of excitement coalesced within. The next meeting held the promise of revelation. Would his insights resonate and reflect the heart of their collective vision? Or would he falter in the face of collaboration? The air buzzed with potential, but as he walked away, uncertainty pooled in his stomach. How would he navigate this new path, still tethered to his quest for authenticity? The answers lay just beyond the horizon, waiting for him to confront them. Jordan spent the next few days immersed in preparation. After the promising exchange with Alex, a mix of enthusiasm and anxiety propelled him into a flurry of activity. He researched financial literacy initiatives, scoured through client feedback reports, and gathered data that illuminated the gaps which their potential project could fill. Each piece of information felt like a step forward, but with every accumulation of knowledge came the nagging realization that he needed to synthesize it into something compelling, something truly reflective of his own vision. During late-night brainstorming sessions, he played with ideas of how to integrate vibrant community engagement into their project. He wanted it to captivate, to spark real conversations about financial empowerment. But the more he crafted these ideas, the more he felt a creeping sense of inadequacy. What if his ideas faltered when put in front of Alex and their team? What if they didn't resonate? Doubt tightened around him like a noose, yet he fought against it. Reflecting on Alex's words about ensuring space for both their ideas made him resolve to assert himself more. He sat down, pen pressed against paper, and forced himself to articulate what he envisioned. The act of writing didn't just clarify his thoughts. It became a battleground where he confronted his fears head-on. When the day of the meeting arrived, Jordan arrived early, armed with meticulously prepared notes and a growing sense of determination. The familiar nerves fluttered in his chest as he took his seat at the long table, the room bustling with the chatter of colleagues arriving. Alex entered, exuding their characteristic confidence, and quickly engaged the room in a warm greeting. They turned to Jordan, offering an encouraging nod. That simple gesture reignited his resolve. He mentally steeled himself for the upcoming discussions, reminding himself that this partnership was built on trust and respect. He was here to contribute, not to merely follow. As they started, discussions danced between various ideas, and Jordan felt a certain rhythm emerging, the ebb and flow of dialogue. Yet, when it came time for him to present his research, he felt the impending wave of anxiety crashing in. Would his voice, amidst so many others, truly carry weight? With a deep breath, he stood and began speaking. Initially, his voice trembled ever so slightly, but the information flowed as he gathered steam, weaving his insights with passion. He observed nods and intrigued expressions around the room. The energy shifted, his ideas sparked curiosity, and conversations began to unfold. With each word he shed layers of uncertainty, standing firm in his viewpoint. However, the moment of confrontation arrived when Alex posed a thoughtful question, one that challenged Jordan to dig deeper into his ideas. How do you plan to ensure we're genuinely connecting with the community, and not just offering surface-level solutions? The question rattled him. For a fleeting second, doubt flitted through his mind. But instead of backing down, he leaned into the query, feeling the anticipation thrum through the room. By developing targeted outreach initiatives that are rooted in direct feedback from our clients, we'll create a dynamic process that adapts based on their needs and ensures authenticity in our messaging. Jordan's response felt invigorating. It was no longer about merely presenting information. He was engaging in a dialogue and asserting that his vision mattered. He felt the tide of self-assurance rising within him. When the meeting concluded, he basked in the post-discussion energy, but it was tainted with an underlying uncertainty. Last-minute doubts washed over him again. Had he truly upheld his own ideals? And would Alex continue to value his contributions? With questions lingering, he caught up with Alex afterward, still riding the adrenaline of the meeting. Do you think my approach will resonate with the team? Am I striking the balance as we discussed? I think you brought unique insights, Alex replied, their tone reassuring. You have to remember that collaboration thrives on the depth of our individual contributions. And today you weren't just a part of the conversation. You helped shape it. As Jordan left, buoyed yet contemplative, he grappled with an emerging revelation. He could assert himself and still forge an enriching partnership. As he stepped outside, the air felt charged, vibrant with possibilities. But one pressing question loomed: how would he maintain this newfound clarity amid external pressures and potential dissent within the team? The possibility of losing his footing again haunted him as he began to walk home, deeper into the night, filled with a sense of urgency as he pondered the delicate balance of partnership and individuality. Jordan spent the following days navigating the fine line between assertiveness and apprehension. Each morning brought with it a reminder of the feedback he had received from Alex, a mixture of validation and encouragement that lingered in his mind, coaxing him to dig deeper into his role. Yet, with the spark of newfound confidence came a weighty realization. His voice had been heard, but would it continue to resonate? He threw himself into refining their project. He crafted surveys, designed outreach strategies, and sketched out potential workshops that could foster financial literacy within the community. Each initiative felt like a significant building block, but as he meticulously mapped everything out, the internal voices of doubt began to murmur again. What if these ideas weren't substantial enough? What if they fell flat in execution? Jordan confronted these fears as best as he could. During his morning runs, he rehearsed his presentations, feeling the rhythm of his voice blend with the pounding of his feet on the pavement. The world around him blurred, a reality far removed from the professional stakes that loomed ahead. With every stride, he visualized affirmations, creating a mental fortress to shield against the anxiety that clawed at his self-worth. One afternoon, amidst brainstorming sessions with Alex and the rest of the team, he sensed an undertone of division among team members. There were disagreements about the direction of their project, and he observed how some voices seemed drowned out, including the more hesitant contributions of his colleagues. The environment shifted, leaving him feeling like an observer of a dynamic slowly splintering. Determined to keep the momentum of positivity alive, he seized the opportunity to introduce his ideas again. What if we establish a system for feedback not just during our workshop sessions but also afterward, to ensure our messaging evolves with the community's needs? He proposed, his heart racing as uncertainty washed over him. The room went quiet, and he felt a flicker of hesitation from Alex. That's ambitious, Jordan, but how do you plan to sustain that level of adaptability? The question was direct, but it did not dash his hopes. Instead, it challenged him. I think we can set up a digital platform where participants can anonymously share their experiences and challenges post-workshop, he framed, breathing more confidently as thoughts flowed. This way we'll not only capture data, but also create a continuous dialogue that empowers participants to engage over time. The response was palpable. Some nodded in agreement, others seemed intrigued. Alex regarded him thoughtfully, their expression a blend of contemplation and respect. In that moment, Jordan understood something vital. Engagement was a two-way street, and he had a pivotal role to play, not just as a contributor but as a catalyst for collaboration. However, after the meeting, while discussions continued, Jordan felt the pressure of potential dissent creeping back into his thoughts. Would his ideas be enough to withstand scrutiny? He sought Alex out once more, this time to solidify the bond that seemed to be forming between them. Do you think I'm on the right track with this approach? Can we maintain team cohesion while exploring these new ideas? Alex smiled, a warmth that hid a deeper appreciation. What I see is the potential for growth, Jordan. Not only for the project but for you too. Your willingness to push against the grain is valuable. Rejuvenated yet aware of the delicate balance they had to strike, Jordan returned home that night, invigorated yet haunted by uncertainty. The harsh reality of project execution loomed over him. He could steer conversations, but would he be able to steer hearts? As he sat at his desk, surrounded by notes and plans, he considered the uncharted territories ahead. Would his voice remain strong enough amid resistance from within the team? How would he navigate conflicts not just in ideals but in personalities? He glanced at the planning documents, his heart racing with both anticipation and fear. Whatever lay ahead wouldn't merely be about ideas anymore. Jordan would have to confront not just differing perspectives, but also his own vulnerabilities. What he didn't yet understand was how these upcoming challenges would test not only his professional growth, but his emotional resilience as well. The time had come to face the dynamics that could either fortify or fracture the team he had begun to feel so connected to. The morning sun filtered through the blinds, illuminating the cluttered desk where Jordan had spent countless hours preparing for the upcoming team meeting. Today felt different, charged with an undercurrent of urgency. The walls of his small apartment bore witness to his internal struggle, a battleground of aspirations woven between doubt and ironclad resolve. As he reread his notes, the possibilities for their project bubbled within him, arousing not just excitement, but an unsettling tension. Each idea he had meticulously drafted now presented him with an opportunity, and yet another risk. It was no longer merely about presenting plans to a team. It had shifted into something deeper. He knew the team was feeling the pressure. They were grappling with their own anxieties, their own expectations. Yet somehow his voice had begun to matter. In the spirited atmosphere of the meeting room, he found himself scanning the faces of his colleagues, gauging the invisible currents of tension that seemed to weave through their discussions. His mind flickered back to the recent disagreements. How could he facilitate a paradigm shift? Was his role to be merely the architect of ideas, or could he wield influence as the fulcrum of team dynamics? Today, as he engaged in conversation, he decided to address the elephant in the room. I know tensions have risen with our differing perspectives, and I believe we need to be candid about our concerns, he started, his voice steady but rich with intent. To his surprise, the room fell quiet, not in reluctance but in expectation. He continued, what if we dedicate a portion of our meeting to identifying what each of us feels is missing from our project? Opening up this dialogue can only strengthen us. The suggestion landed, and he felt a collective release, a sigh of relief that shared uncertainties could at last be acknowledged. As teammates offered up their criticisms and hesitations, Jordan felt a pang of vulnerability. Their words echoed his own insecurities. Yet he found strength in their truths. The conversation evolved into an exchange, illuminating weak spots and igniting creative solutions. The concept of a feedback platform transformed, expanding beyond his original idea into something the team co-created. By the end of the meeting, Jordan could sense the shift. They had gone from a divided group to one that had discovered a mutual commitment to progress. As they finalized the discussion, he looked around and noticed the energy was no longer just about project timelines. There was an unmistakable current of camaraderie. Afterward, as they packed their belongings, Alex approached him once more. "You managed to facilitate that discussion beautifully, Jordan. You didn't just push your idea. You opened the floor to everyone. That's authentic leadership." The praise hung in the air, rekindling the flame of his earlier confidence. Yet, with it came a gnawing fear that this newfound clarity would soon face scrutiny when it was time for execution. Later that evening, he turned the feedback he'd received into a cohesive strategy. But amidst the exhilaration, shadows of doubt crept back in. Would his ability to navigate complexities endure through the actualization phase? There was something about the synchronous flow of ideas that began to terrify him, the fear of losing the rhythm, the possibility of dissonance haunting what they had built together. As he reflected on the blend of achievement and trepidation, a new challenge loomed on the horizon. With a push for deeper collaboration came the promise of deeper conflict. What might he have to face as they moved forward? Jordan steeled himself, understanding that true growth would come not just from forging the right connections, but from confronting the discord that lay ahead. The real test was yet to unfold, and he couldn't shake the feeling that the next meeting would require more than ideas, it would demand resolve. He picked up his notebook, scribbling a quick reminder to himself. The deeper the collaboration, the stronger the potential for conflict. But in that challenge was also an opportunity, and wherever there was opportunity, there was also the potential for profound personal growth. What he hadn't yet disclosed to himself was the possibility that the very resistance he feared could also unlock a resilience he never knew he had. The stakes were rising, and so was his determination. As he prepared for the days ahead, one thought echoed in his mind. The time had come to decide how far he was willing to go in order to cement his voice not just within the team, but within himself. The transition from nervous anticipation to solid resolve arrived for Jordan, as he prepared for the pivotal meeting that could forge the path of his project. The previous discussions had revealed his strengths, but they also exposed vulnerabilities that he had to wrestle with, deep in the recesses of his mind. With each passing day, the need to bridge his vision with collective aspirations grew stronger, pushing him beyond the limits of his prior comfort zone. As he entered the meeting room, determined to establish an authentic foundation for collaboration, he noticed the charged atmosphere. A mix of excitement and apprehension weighed heavily in the air. It was clear that the team craved acknowledgement of the challenges they faced. "Thank you all for being here," he began, his voice steadier than ever. "Today isn't just about finalizing a plan. It's about us as a team, acknowledging our individual insights. Only through open communication can we propel this initiative to where it needs to be." The vulnerable acknowledgement of their shared uncertainty unlocked a fervent dialogue. Individual concerns echoed through the room, insights clashed, but crucially respect built upon those exchanges. With every challenge verbalized, collective ownership blossomed. They brainstormed alternative strategies, steering away from his original proposal toward a hybrid approach that synergized their expertise. For the first time, he felt the firm grip of his influence guiding the group toward a shared vision and igniting his passion for the project. "Let us focus on how we can incorporate immediate feedback mechanisms," he encouraged. "We can ensure our strategy is agile and responsive to community needs." As the conversation unfolded, he reveled in their collaboration, sensing he had finally grasped the kind of leadership they couldn't just hear but could feel. When the dust settled from the meeting, Alex approached him with sincere warmth etched across their face. "You sparked real discourse today, Jordan. The way you navigated concerns turned into productive pathways. That's a hallmark of authentic leadership." Jordan felt a surge of pride. The validation resonated through him, whispering triumph over insecurity. The days that followed were filled with implementation vigor. He cultivated a structure that allowed the community's voice to emerge robustly. Surveys were handed out, workshops were scheduled, and the rhythm that had begun to take form morphed into an empowering chorus of collective involvement. This was no longer just his project. It had transformed into a tapestry woven from their shared narratives of experience and aspiration. Yet amid this success, a new challenge arose unexpectedly. During a workshop, a disgruntled participant presented an antagonistic stance. "You don't know what it's like. You're trying to solve an issue you've never experienced. Why should we trust you?" Their sentiments echoed through the room, stiffening the air. This moment threatened to unravel everything he had built. But Jordan understood that every question also carried an invitation. Instead of retreating behind walls of previous privilege, he stepped forward, grounded in empathy. "You're right," he responded, sincere and unflinching. "I can't fully grasp your experiences, but I'm here to learn. Your voice is what makes this initiative stronger. How can we reshape this to reflect your needs better?" The participant hesitated, then began to speak. With each word, the tension released, reweaving the collective narrative toward something deeper, more profound. This exchange catalyzed a transformative moment for Jordan. He stood tall, realizing that leadership came with responsibility, one that required humility and the willingness to confront discomfort head-on. As the workshops continued, authentic connections flourished, forging stronger community ties. Recognition from previously marginalized voices lit a fire within him that fostered a newfound confidence. Concrete and actionable shifts in strategy emerged from this growing dialogue, further solidifying his belief in the mission they were collectively building. Then came the day when the program officially launched. Standing in front of an array of community members, each holding hopes and apprehensions, Jordan experienced a distinct moment of clarity. The room thrummed with energy, a collective pulse that conveyed the essence of what they had all achieved together. He looked around at the smiling faces, no longer just participating as attendees, but as advocates of this mission. "Today isn't just a reflection of our planning," he declared, voice rising with conviction. "It symbolizes us all choosing to evolve and face difficult truths together. Your stories, your experiences, they matter deeply. This initiative belongs to you." Cheers erupted from the crowd, enthusiasm echoing back to him, eliciting a sense of unity and collective pride that he had longed to inspire. In that moment, he recognized how far he had come. Allowing himself to fully embrace discomfort had transformed a narrative rooted in privilege into one nourished by partnership and compassion. Jordan stood there in awe, no longer a figure in a grand estate seeking validation from the elite, but a man recognized for his contributions and authentic growth. He understood the path that lay ahead was no longer about mere achievements marked by accolades. It was about nurturing connections as the cornerstone of success, where voices aligned to create lasting impact. He had become not just a facilitator of change but a proactive contributor to the world he had initially distanced himself from. The true measure of achievement lay in the meaningful lives they could uplift together. The journey to this moment had shaped him. He had not only conquered self-doubt, but transformed it into a powerful tool for exploration and connection. He was now an advocate for social dialogue, capable of facing discontent while driving meaningful action. This was his moment of triumph, a potent reminder of how significant personal growth emerges from the willingness to engage with others genuinely. Jordan had not merely arrived at a destination. He had discovered his place within a community. As the applause resonated around him, he took a deep breath. He had achieved his goal of contributing meaningfully to the world. But more than that, he had unearthed profound self-awareness that would guide him from this day forward. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Seriously, it makes a difference. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share.